A very good afternoon, everyone. I am Neha Gupta from Shiftway and your host for the day. I hope you all are doing great. I would like to welcome you for this amazing panel discussion event where we are going to talk about how brands are leveraging technology to enhance customer experience. Today's event is brought to you by Shipway, a shipping automation platform and awarded as Logistics Startup of the Year. Shipway has finally unveiled its one-stop solution for all D2C brands, that is Shipway One, compact solution of five different apps into a single platform. Now brands can partner with Shipway One and leverage its plethora of post-purchase offerings such as courier aggregation, shipping intelligence, tracking, fraud detections, return and exchanges without having to offer different apps for different functions. At Shiftway, our aim is to bring our entrepreneurial community some of inspiring stories, experts' advice, insights, latest trends, opportunities from D2C ecosystem. Now it's time to welcome our guest for today. We have yet another powerful panel discussion wherein we have invited amazing entrepreneurs and growth experts from B2C ecosystem. Guys, we have with us Shreedha Singh, co-founder and CEO of the Ayurveda company. HR turned co-founder of the Ayurveda company, Shreedha has done MBA in Human Resource Management and worked with top MNCs like Bombardier, Volvo, DLF, etc., holding managerial positions before donning the entrepreneurial hat. A leader by choice, she has been vocal advocate of the overall well-being of body, mind, and soul through the lineage of Ayurveda and the basic roots of science of life. Through that, Shrida, along with her co-founder, has been attempting to make Ayurveda evolve in the modern times and reach the furthest corners of India and the whole world at large. She's also a celebrated speaker and features in leading print and online media for her views on topics like Ayurveda and its adaptation in today's time, sustainable development for brands, women in the business world, and much more. A very warm welcome, Shreedha.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Neha.
Now we have with us Mrunmay Mehta. He is Chief Operating Officer of the leading B2C beauty and wellness brand Wow Skin Science for its India's as well as international business. At Wow Skin Science is closely worked with the co-founders and key investors to shape the company's vision and accelerate growth. He led functions across online, offline GTM, D2C platforms, customer experience, growth performance, brand marketing, finance, supply chain, customer service, HR, and international expansion. He joined Wow Skin Science after 4 years of stint at Amazon India as a category leader, general manager for their beauty, personal care, and luxury beauty business, where he led cross-functional teams across category management, CX, product development, digital and content marketing, brand vendor relations, store merchandising, along with overall strategic panel planning and P&L delivery. Before joining Amazon, he was the director for beauty and personal care strategy for South Asia at Unilever. A very warm welcome, Vinay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Neha. Glad to be here.
Likewise. Now, lastly, we have Prateek Mahajan. Prateek is currently working as Director, Head of Business Operations at eCommerce. He has been leading the operations for almost 3 years and played a pivotal and monumental role in building Unicommerce as India's largest e-commerce focused supply chain SaaS solution platform. With almost 10 years of work experience in e-commerce and internet industry, he has been entrepreneur and has worked with the leadership of some of the biggest startups of India. His clear vision and sharp-eyed focus on offering a great customer experience has helped Unicommerce to achieve exponential growth in last few years. He is an IIM Ahmedabad graduate and amateur photographer with love for nature. A very warm welcome, Prateek.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. Thank you all for joining us today and taking out time from your busy schedule. Really being pleasure hosting you all today. Would you like to say a quick hi to our audience?
Sure. I'll go first in the order of introduction. So, hi everyone, I'm Shreedha, and I am the CEO and co-founder for both of our brands. The one that we are here for is the Ayurveda company, TAG, and we have another brand called Khadi Essentials. In Khadi Essentials, we primarily do beauty and personal care, head to toe regime, gender neutral across all ages. But a holistic Ayurvedic solution is offered under the spectrum of the Ayurveda company, wherein we try and cater to not just look good from the outside aspect, but also feel good from the inside. Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, sorry, is that Prateek next or me? I kind of forget.
Mrunmay, go ahead, please.
All right, very quickly. Hi, I'm here from Wow Skin Sciences and Wow Life Sciences. We have a health and beauty portfolio of products which largely work on the no nasties, clean beauty plank with a lot of lead ingredients, with a lot of natural ingredients, and largely has been a digital first brand in terms of evolution, where we started on Amazon, went to other marketplaces, then went to D2C, and today are across GT, modern trade, international, as well as all of online channels. And we believe that we have not even started. So very excited to be here and talk to all of you.
Thanks, Mrunmay. I'll quickly introduce myself. Hi, guys. I'm Prateek. I head the entire business ops at eCommerce. And eCommerce specifically is a post-purchase experience organization. We are a software as a service, and we cater to brands, upcoming brands online. So everything that comes after the purchase comes on eCommerce as a central system where we help brands to collaborate and get a common inventory, get a standard order processing module, ensure all the inventory is sorted out, and then look after the entire post dispatch customer experience as well. So we currently have close to around a 20% market share in the Indian industry, and we are rapidly growing and looking to enhance our entire offerings as the Indian e-commerce industry itself is evolving at a very fast pace. So for us, it's always trying to be one step ahead so that we can ensure all the brands have a perfect experience and they can cater to their customers perfectly.
Great. So let's start the questions of the session. So I'm raising it to Shreedha. So Shreedha, when did you know it was a time to become a full entrepreneur? Walk us through your entrepreneurial journey, along with why did you choose Ayurveda as a category, and tell us about its adaptation in today's time.
Sure. So I'll take the second part of the question first. My personal experiences with a skin medical condition made me experiment with Ayurveda. And I suffered from a skin allergy called hives. It's also called urticaria. And when Param and I, we went across a lot of dermats all across Delhi NCR. But it was only after we got married in 2017, we got to know that, so we started visiting Ayurveda doctors, and there was always some belief in Ayurveda, but the understanding was limited to the aspect that, so there was a disbelief around Ayurveda that probably it's slow or it'll take time to perform. And now the situation had aggravated, wanted to get a quick fix around it. But when we happened to visit that Ayurveda doctor in Kerala, we identified that basis the treatment, the recommendations that she had given, the issue was gone in only 3 months, and it was completely resolved in 6 months. That's when we decided that we need to take this message out to the world, and we could do something because we could easily identify a gap between Masi and classy Ayurveda. And then there were a lot of notions associated with Ayurveda. Let's say, people still look at it as something which is very grandfatherly or very orthodox or very conventional, and it may not be as cool to use Ayurveda in the modern day life. So that's the mission that we started way back in 2019 with our first brand, Khadi Essentials. I think it's a funny story how I realized I had to be an entrepreneur. I call myself an accidental entrepreneur because Param started the journey. And when things started taking some shape, he said that he wanted to hire a team. He wanted to build a team, and considering how most of the startups are, you are bootstrapped and you don't have a lot of funds to create a team. So he couldn't afford to create a team. So he said, "Why don't you come and join me? Because to be able to hire somebody at your level, I would have to shell out a significantly, some money that I don't have right now. So why don't you come and join me?" And our family members started looking at us as if we were fools. We had left our corporate careers, good designations, good paychecks, and we come from a middle class normal background. So that's how it started. But I'm happy that that decision was made, and that journey to start something of our own and take the message to a wider audience regarding the experiences that we've had with Ayurveda. It couldn't get any better. And now with the newer brand, that is TAC, there's no looking back. We are now an omni-channel brand with about 10 of our own stores and around 300 plus offline POS across the country. And by March 2023, the target is to be available at more than 3,000 plus touch points across the country, apart from, of course, having a digital presence. Neha, you're on
You're on
mute.
mute.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So thank you so much for sharing your journey, and it's good to see how Ayurveda as a category penetrating the Indian market and now expanding its arm into international. Awareness is really important these days because that's how the founders are working on the innovative products. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. So my next question is to you, Mrunmay. What wow skin science vision and what innovative products do you offer to the consumer?
That's a tough question in terms of innovation today in India. But I think the way we see it is India is one of the least evolved beauty and personal care markets in the world. And within that, I think the consumer today is just waking up to choices in terms of what brands she can both learn about and then consume through online channels or through now increasingly, D2C. The way the Wow's vision is to keep continuing to give the most naturally powered products without harmful chemicals in as many beauty categories as the consumer needs, and then very closely listen to consumer feedback and co-create some of the products through that. And that's how Wow has reached where it is today in terms of driving its innovation through consumer feedback. For us, the vision is to take Wow to every single consumer in India. While I'm sure that'll take us a little bit of time, but we are very clear that the brand proposition is such that it extends very nicely across various categories, and which is why we also have gotten into healthcare, because we believe that for a consumer to look good, there is also an element of feel good and be good, and that happens when you look at healthcare and beauty in totality. And which is where we have a brand called Wow Life Sciences, where we want to make every consumer or every Indian healthy, is the way we start. But early days, looking forward to how we can create more and more innovation for consumers as we start from here.
Yeah, I'm sure Wow is creating a wow factor in Indian consumers' mind because of their innovative products. All the best for that. In continuation with your previous question, I would like to ask, what are the things Wow Skin Science did right that help you crack the competition in beauty and wellness space with brands like L'Oreal, Lakme, or homegrown brands like Mama Earth, Plum, Goodness? etc., to become a multi-crore business in a short span of time?
Yeah, so I mean, we're also a homegrown business. While we are internationally spread, I think we are in the same bucket. But the way I see it is, a lot of legacy brands evolved through very different DNA because they evolved through general trade, through TV advertising, which have very different modes of operation. You need a certain scale, you need a certain mass to be able to leverage these channels effectively, and it also prevents you from then going into niches which the consumers may want, but you may not be able to serve it through those channels. I think what Wow did early on, which gave it a bit of a starting point, is um, this was a time when e-commerce was just starting in India. Consumers were coming online and looking at products, and suddenly from your neighborhood shop where you get 4 shampoos and 3 soap brands in totality, you suddenly had a variety of brands to choose from. Between that and the way we built consumer awareness, which is we didn't go for very large advertising, as a brand, we went, very bottom up in terms of how we got user generated content. And we had a D2C site. In fact, we had a D2C website before D2C became a phenomenon in India. And we were serving consumers directly through our website. And I think some of those early steps helped us a lot. I think the underpinning of all of this has been just listening to consumer feedback, reviews and ratings on Amazon, and other marketplaces, and being very true to the consumer feedback. That's something that's built into our DNA.
And this is really important these days, to listen to your consumer, what your consumer really wants, and that's how you grow in the market, and then work on customer experience overall.
Yeah.
So moving on to you, Prateek, what is the vision of Unicommerce, as you are well trenched among e-commerce marketplace and sellers both? And what are new technology solutions are you working towards enhancing customer experience? Since you were talking about post purchase experience, right?
Yes. Thanks, Neha. So at Unicommerce, we help the sellers expanding or enhancing the entire post-purchase experience. When we say that as a platform, what that basically means is helping brands automate and streamline their supply chain, leading to faster order processing, faster business efficiency. Today, what tends to happen is that all of us are fans of the way Amazon has built its business, right? Amazon Prime, getting immediate deliveries, getting perfect customer experience. And I think that is something that a lot of D2C brands really enhance and focus towards, trying to build that great supply chain experience. And that's where we come in. That's where we help the brands to ensure that once the order is there and you get the order from the consumer, where the conversion has actually happened, how do you ensure that you deliver the product to the consumer as soon as possible? You may have 10 different warehouses, or you may just have one warehouse, but you need to ensure that out of the lakhs and lakhs of inventory that you have, this one gets packed perfectly, correctly, and gets shipped to the consumer, and all your financial obligations, such as e-invoicing, e-way bills, all of them get sorted out. So anyway, everyone's selling online, right? Everybody, whether it be marketplaces or sellers, it can be D2C, it can be retail brands, it can be omni-channel players who are working towards that seamless shopping experience for the consumer. Right now, when we talk about the entire D2C ecosystem, right, and we are also in the presence of two great brands over here. The entire ecosystem is really maturing. And what they have actually done over the last 2 years during the pandemic also is that they have done a lot of efforts to get customer acquisition done right. And right now they're focusing on building that brand loyalty once the customer is there. It's not just a one-time purchase that really helps, but you have to do in a lot of steps to ensure that the customer keeps coming back and building that brand loyalty. And that focus has also now shifted to customer retention. Now, brand loyalty can be built by two specific things, going old school, right? You have to build great products, you have to build a great experience, and that's where we help the great experience part once the order is placed. Brands are also now going omni-channel, and how Shreedha also mentioned right now, that it would be very interesting to see how they tend to compete against the offline leaders that, like you mentioned, L'Oreal's of the world. And what I have genuinely seen over the last 2-3 years is as a very pleasant way that when I see these things, the presence of these brands is ever increasing now, and customers are really happy. Customers really look forward to these things. When you talk about what we have specifically done to ensure what kind of technologies that we are focusing on, or what kind of things that we are building on, I can tell you that very clearly we have to just ensure the entire customer experience is very, very fast. And when we talk about these brands, one of the key challenges that we have specifically faced is to ensure a faster deployment of the technology at a brand side. Whenever a brand is trying to get these technologies implemented, it needs to be done fast. It needs to be done seamlessly with whatever existing processes that they had, and help them enhance the processes. That has been one thing that we've really been doing over the last 1 or 2 years. We've also been expanding and increasing our integrations, because all the D2C brands, how they start is that while some may start with purely a marketplace model, some may start with their website first. As time goes by, everybody will start also going offline, start selling on marketplaces. There will be a good equilibrium of that entire part where offline, online sets in. And what we are trying to do and what we are doing right now is to ensure that entire equilibrium is there. We keep on adding new marketplaces, logistics providers, seamless integrations, so that whenever anybody comes in, they can easily look at almost 200 of our integrations and seamlessly get those integrations done and ensure the entire customer experience is sorted and seamlessly taken forward.
Completely agree. And then technology is in need of D2C growth these days, as it plays a pivotal role in terms of enhancing the customer experience. So moving on to my next question. The D2C sector is one of the most happening sectors in year 2021. From the sector seeing its first unicorn leashes to several brands like Boat, Mama, Big Fit, Country Delight cross more than 100 CR of revenue in a short span of time. So what is causing the growth in D2C sector, and how the market scenario is going to change in terms of opportunities, upcoming opportunities and challenges? So we can start this with you, Prateek.
Sure. So while D2C is something that started as early as around 2016, 2017, it really picked up a very big pace during the pandemic, where the market share of D2C brands started growing, and everywhere you went, you saw D2C brands rather than the traditional brands that were there. And we also have been tracking this very closely. What we saw was that while we had launched a e-commerce trends reports recently, according to that report, the brand websites actually reported a 80% growth over the last 1 year compared to the marketplaces, which actually grew by just 59%. And this is a very evident part which shows that how D2C is actually taking the entire lead and getting more and more consumers done. The rising numbers of online shoppers presents this opportunity to consumers. It's not just e-commerce, and D2C is not just for metros or tier ones. It started going to tier 3, tier 4 cities, and that's really driving that growth, which earlier on was limited to the tier 1 cities. And now, as marketplaces have gone, now D2C brands are exploring that part. E-commerce is also now becoming very experience driven rather than the discount driven experience that early 2015-16 was focusing on. Consumers right now are shopping online for convenience and for experience, and that's where they end up coming to the brand websites rather than just going to an Amazon or a Flipkart. And this experience is what the brands are really giving out, and that is what has been causing a very large growth in D2C. Even in during this Independence Day sale, right? There was no very massive scale or spike that we saw, because as consumers are shopping online throughout the year now. Earlier on, it was more like when spike sales come in, that is when majority volumes goes up. But right now, the volumes are consistent and growing slowly across each and every D2C brand. This is a very interesting trend, because this specifically helps brands planning their inventory and supply chain more efficiently, rather than planning only for spikes, and it might be a hit or a miss. But the way that entire thing is growing and causing this healthy growth is very, very interesting. Another thing that we saw was the emerging trend of house of brands. And that's where both the panelists over here, I see Shreedha and Nal, are also heading towards and already have house of brands, where they're diversifying, launching multiple brands to stay relevant and build a profitable business as well. So this is also a very important thing, that learning from one brand, they are able to very easily replicate and get more consumers and spread across both Shreedha, where they have the Ayurved and the TAC where she is right now, and the Ayurved company, and before that as the Khadi Essential, sorry, where Shreedha is, and the way Wow is working, and also getting into a couple of more brands such as Body Cupid, and they're growing very rapidly. So this entire thing is causing the entire growth, and really making a very exciting space for consumers and brands, because this is leading to a profitable and a sustainable growth rather than a discount-driven approach that earlier used to be.
Shreedha, would you like to add?
I think this is a very interesting space to be in, and I think that I was reading the questions people have been asking about quality of products, full disclosure around the ingredients that are used, how do we maintain the quality of products and stuff like that. I think the reason why D2C has become so warm, from warmth it is going to hotness now. So against the traditional brands is the kind of communication and emoting that we do directly with the customer, and there aren't so many layers involved. So if there is some feedback that comes from the customer, I think right from the customer support executive to the founder level, uh, I'm pretty sure in most of the D2C startups, everybody is involved in kind of solving that problem. This also helps us paying attention to what the customer is saying and what the data is. If you look at the data closely, that gives you a health check of the organization. And because you aren't that big in the beginning, it you have that agility, you have that flexibility to maneuver and quickly take action, a corrective action on stuff that you might not be doing so great in. So I think the DNA of any D2C startup is its agility and also its speed of execution. And I'm very sure that all of us are learning from, some of the mistakes, that because kuch kaam kar rahe to galtiyan to hogi hi. So, but we are very fast in getting up and moving forward. Also, with the kind of support that is available through technology from platforms like eCommerce and marketing automation tools also, and the kind of data inputs that probably a Shopify or an Amazon offers. There is a very good, so it helps you instead of taking decisions basis your intuition ki probably my product would sell better in the southern part of India. You have solid data in front of you, and it helps you, and especially in a stage where we are at, wherein we're taking our baby steps to go omni-channel. It is very, and considering that omni-channel offline is not that inexpensive, it's important that we take the right steps. So it is important for us to look at a lot of data points before we even think of starting our own outlet in a relatively expensive mall. So it's always a decision as to whether we should spend those monies on online versus having a presence offline. And we also believe that the kind of value proposition that us D2C brand offer in a lot of different, be it food, apparel, fashion, beauty, health, and so many services also these days. So the kind of value proposition and the understanding that a user gets, the connect that a user gets directly with the brand, is something that makes people feel at the center of the brand. So probably, while growing up, we saw biggies like PNG and HULs. I could never imagine if or maybe Coca-Cola, I could never imagine if a product went wrong, I would write to their customer support, but never would I get an opportunity to speak to their founders, speak to their CEOs. They would never come live. I mean, they were always intimidatingly unapproachable. But the beauty in D2C is you're direct to the customer, you're all out there. And it's very close. It's actually direct to the consumer. Behind the screen is the customer.
Oh, that's amazing. Pranay, would you like to add your
I,
thought
I
over there?
actually I actually find the D2C label itself a bit premature. I think consumers don't look at brands as D2C or non-D2C. Consumers look at brands. Consumers have problems or consumers have needs. You address those needs. Whether you address them as a legacy brand or a D2C brand is our view of the situation. But if you're a consumer, you really don't, I mean, you don't classify a brand as D2C or not. You just see whether it fits what you want. And the reason we see the explosion and then the growth of what we now call D2C brands is because two things have happened. One, consumers are suddenly being exposed to a lot more content, a lot more learning, a lot more education. And within that, I think there's a tremendous appetite to try new things. And obviously, it's percolating deeper and deeper as you see internet penetration growing. You see platforms like Instagram. I mean, previously whatever TikTok was, and today a lot more. And they are getting exposed to trends through which they learn new needs. And while a lot of our current panel is on beauty and personal care, but this is extending to everything, right? Even in foods, you see a lot of niches emerge in terms of completely transparent, clean, food, etc. So there is a consumer need which is just getting awakened right now through media, which never was. I mean, in television, you could see a grand total of 30 brands in a category. Now you will see 30,000, and that's number one. Number two, I think the biggest capability unlock is the way data and feedback loops are used in marketing. Because if I were and I was in a legacy FMCG company, you would shoot a television commercial, you'll put it out in the market, you'll spend maybe a couple of tens or twenties of crores, and then wait for 3 months to get your first read of whether it's working or not. Today, simultaneously, we'll be running 300 ads, and at any given point of time, they are targeted to 300 different cohorts, and we would get to know whether it's working, not working, whether consumers are liking it or not, what to adjust. So I think marketing capability has changed and the consumer appetite has changed, and we are kind of at the holy grail of them meeting, which is a fantastic time for any industry. And I think India is at that point today, which is where we see it as an explosion of D2C brands.
Great insights, and I'm sure it's definitely going to resonate with the audience. Guys, before we jump on to the next question, here is a quick announcement. If you have any questions which you wanted to ask our experts, please drop them in a questions tab, not in a chat section, or else they'll get missed. So, moving on to my next question, the pandemic has impacted consumer consciousness and buying patterns in a big way. How are you seeing the D2C industry grow despite having been caught in pandemic? What are the key lessons learned to enhance customer experience? We can start this with you, Shreedha.
Great. So I think Prateek and Mrunmay would agree that the pandemic positively impacted the digital first brand, also because the world did not have a lot of options to resort to. Offline was closed. And at least if I talk about us at Khadi Essentials, so we wanted to launch both the brands together way back in 2020. So Khadi Essentials started in late 2019, but several months since we started, COVID hit. So we never got the time because we were engrossed in the hyper growth of Khadi Essentials initially, and the customer, and there was an increase. So with increase in e-commerce, with increase in internet usage, availability of smartphones and mobile devices, and the overall content consumption digitally went way higher than it would have reached, considering usual course of action, which also led to customers and also the situations around health and uncertainty that opened people's I think avenues for taking care of themselves, focusing on longevity of life, and also taking care of themselves in terms of their general well-being. both these things coupled together, and also people, because most of the people were working from home, they also got the time to be with their loved ones and probably identify the things that they were losing out on otherwise. So a lot of things coupled together, helped clean or beauty brands that were not chemical laden or were doing organic, clean, Ayurvedic products, or in general promoting a certain way of being, a certain kind of a lifestyle that got immediate attention. And once people explored and experimented with those kind of products, there was no looking back because the quality was very so I think we impacted by in terms of our sales numbers, in terms of our revenues. There were difficult situations when it came to the operations, but we sailed through.
Prateek, would you like to jump on?
I mean, I think everybody saw a large online shift during the pandemic. I don't think that's unique in any way because obviously the physical infrastructure was constrained. But I think what also happened during this time is two things. I mean, we have observed as trends. One is healthcare and just the general awareness of health was suddenly it was an orbit shift in terms of how consumers now look at what they are consuming, especially in healthcare and foods. A little less in beauty, but I think the same trend you see in beauty as well, which is consciousness of what kind of chemicals are being used, just because there is that general larger awareness of health. And I think a lot of channel shifts happened for us during that time. I think D2C platform really kind of, because a lot of these marketplaces also got impacted during the first wave of COVID. We saw a massive surge in consumers still wanting to engage with brands and ended up kind of coming to brand websites. And I think there's an element of trust that you build in when the consumer comes to your website, because if you're a large brand, what happens is over time you have resellers and your brand is in offline and those sellers could come back online. So marketplaces tend to be a bit cluttered and they're resolving it in their own way. But a brand's website is pretty much the source of truth. That's where the consumer goes for absolute authenticity. And I think we saw that as well as a trend, which is that they wanted to engage now much more with the brand directly. I think Shreedha made an excellent point. I think you'd never be able to, get to a Unilever CEO, but you can certainly, read or probably hear about the brand's founder. In some cases, even get the brand's founder responding to your question online. And I think that online interaction just kind of increased. So that's where we saw a couple of these tailwinds. And now, of course, things are kind of going back to a little more normalized way where offline is coming back in a big way. But I think consumers have just gotten a taste of what online brand websites can do.
Completely agree. Personal touch is really important for the consumer from brand's perspective. Prateek, would you like to add to Mrunmay's point?
Completely agree. Completely agree. And obviously, while the growth has been there, the experience that the brands have provided and the consciousness that has come into the people, it's very much aligned to what Mrunmay said, that it's not about building a brand, it's about identifying what the consumer wants and giving the consumer that thing. It had been personal beauty care that really won during the pandemic. It was more around the essential elements that go into the product itself. And while this has also happened, we have also seen that a lot of technology got adopted by the brands as well. Because when suddenly a lot of consumers come into your website, you have to, the traffic shifts from marketplaces to yours, and you have to ensure that when the consumer comes in, you have to fulfill the promises that you made. It doesn't matter if it is a 10x spike. A consumer has come, you have to ensure that has been done. And that's where the adoption of technology also really came in during the pandemic for us. One thing that I feel when I speak to a lot of brands is that the consistent shopping experience, that once the pandemic started slowing down, the companies realized that they have to be omnichannel. They have to be ensure that they're able to offer that same experience that they were offering on the website in their offline stores as well. Features such as endless aisle, ship from stores, pick from stores are something that were talk of the future earlier on. It's now a very, very big presence right now. And taking the cue on how the brands have really gotten into the experience part of consumers, the traditional FMCG brands are now following cue. They are the ones that are now coming and they are bringing in their own websites. Brands like ITC, brands like HUL, Marico, Imami, all of them are coming in and putting in aggressive targets on how much they want from their own websites and engage the consumers themselves. They're building their own e-commerce platforms. They're building cross-brand platforms, and they're doing a lot of adoption as well with that.
So, adding to your point, Mrunmay, tech-based systems are definitely critical for D2C ecosystem in reducing order-related errors, consequently improving customer experience and brand image. So, as per your view, how are technologies transforming the D2C sector, and what tech-enabled platforms are helping businesses for scaling operations, building efficiencies, and enhancing customer experience?
I don't think the sector would have evolved the way it has without technology playing a massive role. And initially, it was borrowed technology, which is, let's say, you selling on Amazon is essentially borrowing Amazon's tech platform, and there is an engine working behind which most of us haven't seen, but there's a very large technological engine working behind it, and that became the genesis. But today, I think through SaaS, partners and Unicommerce being one of them, Shipway as well. But essentially, it allows marketers to focus on what they do best, which is look for the right consumer insight and serve the consumer the right product and listen to feedback and make it better and kind of scale it. And I think in that process, I would break up the technology tools available in three parts. One is in terms of talking to your consumer, and which is where a lot of technology is currently deployed in terms of how our marketing works. There is also consumer engagement, and there are a variety of programs that you could use, which are tools on CRM and consumer engagement. And then there is, as Prateek put it nicely, there is a post-order universe of tools, which is about how do consumers experience fulfillment of their orders from your brand. At each step, there are very nuanced events and triggers you can define, which help the consumer feel a lot more personal, right? I mean, it's not about going to a shop and buying it. You are ordering it on a website, and then to the time that the product comes to your doorstep, there are ways in which your consumer experiences your brand, and every single touch point is actually a brand building opportunity. And within this, all of the tools that I mentioned in these three kind of compartments help you build a cohesive experience for the brand. And we are kind of very keenly looking at advancements in this area in terms of how these tools evolve as well.
Shreedha, would you like to add?
I think Mrunmay has covered it pretty beautifully. These are the nuances and the CRM, the touch points that we also look at. I think we also take the opportunity to look at social media because Ayurveda is something that everybody knows. If you in a room full of people, if you ask how many of you know about Ayurveda, everybody would raise their hand. But you throw a jargon at them, and then nobody knows about it. So I think we take that as a platform to increase awareness about topics that maybe you do not come across on a day-to-day basis. We create content which is kind of validated by our internal Ayurveda experts and doctors. And I think what we are also trying to do is to move from a typical product selling approach to a more consultation based, more expert guided approach on our D2C platform. That is because Ayurveda, you don't go to an expert or you don't go to an Ayurveda doctor and tell them, yeah, kuch dikhana, kuch de do. So that's how you shop for a regular personal care product. However, if you go to an expert and the kind of positioning that we are trying to create for tag, you would given specific situations that my hair feels like this is what I eat, this is how my lifestyle is, sedentary, active, etc., etc. And hence and this is the consequence: my hair doesn't feel good, my skin doesn't feel good, etc. And so please propose something for me. So that is the kind of style of personalization co-created with experts. That is something that we're trying to get into. So yeah, but pretty much aligned with everything that Mrunmay put forth.
Prateek, would you like to add on to Shreedha's point?
Yeah, absolutely. Both Shreedha and Mrunmay are bang on to the point of how technology has really helped and how it used to be around 5 to 6 years earlier. It used to be marketplaces, and each of these tools used to be developed in-house. And which also meant that if a brand had to actually set up all of this, right from marketing automations, right from consumer engagement, right from customer loyalty, analytics, supply chain, each and the entire part, right? It used to become a very big inhibitor for anybody to even start their own brands, because all these things are the ones that really ate into the bottom lines of brands, sorry, marketplaces, right? And with the advent of SaaS, with the advent of a lot of products that are out there, whether it be marketing automations, whether it be CRMs, whether it be the post-purchase consumer engagement, or just analytics tools, which can be that you can just deploy something on a Power BI or just get SaaS tools such as Saras and look at all the data that you have. That really brings the entire investment down to a few clicks. And software as a service really offers that you pay as you go, rather than setting up huge old school server systems and huge list and line of developers and technology. And that's where the technology tends to come in, right? It's not just that technology has become available, or it's pay as you go and very easy to install. So it becomes a very big support system and an enabler for all the brands to do what they do best, which is create great products. And that part is, I think, will always be with the brand. Great sourcing and great product is something, and the kind of experience that you want to provide, right? So, for example, what TAC is providing, what WOW is providing, that is not something that anybody tomorrow can come and easily replace or provide. Uh, and all of these things need to go out, and all these SaaS tools tend to enable them and amplify them and make them ensure that they can go to the consumer that really want them. So definitely technology really helps on that, and we being in supply chain really feel that difference when we talk to the brand, and when a brand comes and they start with us, we see them working and starting with say 100 units in a day, and as time goes by, the entire confidence in the supply chain tends to increase. They tend to push the pedal on the marketing and consumer engagement, and in a matter of a few months, we see those brands who were doing 100 units a day are now doing close to around say 6 to 7,000 units in a day. And the experience that they're providing, the seamlessness is phenomenal. And in the end, it's all the brand experience that tends to come in over there.
I'm just I'm just loving every bit of the session. It's so engaging. Thank you so much for sharing your experts, insights, and then thoughts. So let's take a few questions from live audience also. So here Anurag has shared one question in the chat box that I want to know, Mrunmay and Shreedha, the strategy for marketplaces like Amazon and Flipkart. I just launched my skincare brand.
So although we've taken up, I think both of us have taken up that question in the chat section. But just for everybody, we've divided it into three, very easy parts. And Mrunmay would be the expert because ex Amazon, so he can spill the beans more. But the way we look at it is, setting up the right catalog, and we try and build an analogy with offline space, because it's the same customer that shops online and offline. So when you enter the store, where is it visible? Then even though it is virtual, even though it is e-commerce, then but still how you create that feeling of assisted purchase. Cataloging is something that one needs to focus. Then the second thing, I think Amazon has been the leader, and Flipkart also follows. that at the speed of delivery, so that is something that people don't want to wait for a long time when they've ordered something, and being a brand, you would always want to reduce that delivery tat, because again, we are trying to fill in for the experience that somebody would get if they were making an offline purchase. So offline way you get it instantly, but how do you reduce the tat? I think the third thing is the marketing and communication, the credibility that follows. So for us, testimonials, customer testimonials. So we drive trials through an internal customer group to understand, and if people like it, then we request them to go and post about it publicly. If people do not like something, or if they see any potential areas of improvement, we request them to come and tell us so that we could be better the next time onwards. So yeah, that's three basic pillars on which we base our Amazon and Flipkart, and in general our e-commerce sales.
Mrunmay, would you like to add?
I think Shreedha captured the core of the Amazon flywheel quite well. Amazon is built on selection, pricing, and convenience. And I think as brands, if you're launching a brand on Amazon, a couple of things to bear in mind, right? I think the first part is bang on your catalog, which is your ASIN, the one that you create. You really want to help the consumer make a choice and really tell your story. So your images, your 6 bullet points, your A+ content would go a long way in terms of how your ASIN would get. Once you discover it, what will the conversion be is dependent on the quality of the ASIN. So before you put any marketing energy behind it, ensure that that is in place. The second thing is supply chain, and that's a backbone. For a new brand, it might be daunting to really replicate in multiple clusters and might become a challenge. But I think that comes a bit later. If you can get some signals in terms of where is your customer coming from, you can choose to then spread your inventory basis that. But one cardinal rule I would always suggest is never go out of stock. Because if you go out of stock and your marketing is on, getting back to the same velocity is going to cost you a lot of money. So be very, very careful about not going out of stock on Amazon. And the third is that Amazon pretty much is built as a platform. So it gives you self-serve tools where you can get initial traffic in terms of interested consumers who you can advertise. It's a very cluttered market. To give you a snippet, I think Amazon Beauty alone has around 28,000 brands in India. And we're talking about close to 2.5 million SKUs. So the moment you have, let's say, a brand with 20 or 30 SKUs, you need to really pick your bets on saying which is my hero SKU on which I will first get some critical mass. And the moment you use some of these levers like advertising or coupons, etc., to drive both awareness and trials, you will see the flywheel kicking off, and you will see reviews and ratings coming in. And then you kind of see the benefit of the Amazon algorithm, which keeps pushing you up to get more and more customers to see your product. So to me, I think Shreedha's points are brilliant. You look at selection, which is catalog. You look at supply chain, which is inventory availability and replication, and then look at ways in which you can gain trials through marketing and other tools.
Great. I think almost you have covered all the questions in bits and pieces. So moving on to the last question of my event, because we are running out of the time. So how are D2C brands harnessing the power of social commerce to improve the overall customer buying experience? Suggest some tips and tools to successfully achieve the goals. Prateek, we can start with you probably. Prateek, you are on mute.
Sorry. So as D2C and as all the brands are coming across, social commerce is something that is really taking up space. What we see that as projections talk about is that over the next 5 years, close to around 20% of all e-commerce will tend to be social commerce, as per the finding that we had. And I think a Nielsen report also had published the same. So social commerce models is something that have gone and given great fruit to Chinese companies, and that is somewhere companies like Pinduoduo tend to come in. And in India, a similar model was started across. A lot of companies which started, such as Meesho, started on the social commerce models, and Meesho today is giving Flipkart the run for its own money. helping all the companies grow beyond. And as more and more time goes by, social commerce itself becomes very large deal, because it's not just about selling something to the consumer, but it's about engaging the consumer while you're selling the entire product, and getting those things right. So as live commerce tends to come in, where companies are coming in across, then social commerce players such as Misho tends to come in, and Bulbul was another player, and Times Internet started something. So all of these things become really, really critical in getting these things. I'm pretty sure that the way engagement tends to happen, close to around 20% of e-commerce will tend to shift to social commerce platforms over the next 4 to 5 years.
Awesome. Mrunmay, would you like to add?
Yeah, quick snippet. I think social is just a bunch of things that we just kind of bucket together. There's a lot of stuff happening, a lot of experiments happening in terms of live commerce, and a lot of big platforms like, I know Myntra, Amazon both have live streams. Social essentially works on a little more peer-to-peer recommendation. So in a way, what you are essentially saying is the reviews and rating systems of the e-commerce 1.0 are becoming turbocharged and becoming e-commerce 2.0 here, which is you have active recommendation instead of passive recommendation. And I think very early days, but India is taking its own curve, right? Some of those models are not working as easily in India. There is a bit of innovation required. I think even early brands that started with this have pivoted a bit into direct e-commerce and so on and so forth. So we are waiting to see who cracks it first. But I think early experiments happening through even YouTube commerce are very interesting, and we'll get to see a little more as consumers develop a liking for it. Because China has shown what's possible. But will India copy it? I don't think so. I think there is something unique about how we are going to see our curve emerge on social commerce.
Shreedha, your point of view?
Absolutely. So I think so India happens to the trends that are popular globally happen to become popular in India also, but with a flavor of its own. India tadka ek alag hi lagta hai. I think it is never a replication of what worked in the US or what worked in China. An exact replication of whatever worked there will work here also. To be honest, we are not as heavy on social commerce at the moment, because we just did a small dipstick and didn't give us the kind of ROI we would have anticipated with respect to the time and energy we put in. We did not invest monetarily that much though. And you kind of tend to balance. If you're spending this kind of an energy somewhere, you need to get return. So probably the time is not right, and but that's definitely the future, because the way we look at it is that the space that we operate in, it's a very experiential space, and the kind of gaps that we are trying to cover by being present closer to the customer through a retail presence, to some extent. So it's between e-commerce and retail, because here the customer is able to see the product, know about it, and then there is somebody assisting why they should make that purchase. And also, for us females especially, we like to mentally make the purchase first before we've actually paid for that product. We've made the actual purchase, so we want to know how it feels from the inside. My skin pe kaisa lagega, how is the texture, will it suit me or not, will it give me results or not. So if somebody is kind of standing and talking about it and trying to pitch it, it definitely has more impact than a list of infographics and some A+ content and some pointers just telling you a lot of stuff. That is definitely the future, but maybe too early for us. Maybe in next 3 to 5 years we see some more traction.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights. All right, guys, this brings us to the end of this wonderful session with our panel, awesome panel experts. This was indeed a value-packed session, although there is a lot more that we could have learned. Unfortunately, we are limited by time here. I hope you guys loved the session. Once again, I would like to thank our awesome speakers and audience for taking out the time to be part of this event. Mrunmay, Prateek, and Shreedha, would you like to say thanks to our audience for attending the event?
Yes, thank you so much, guys.
Definitely. Thank you.
It has
Thank you
been
for
a
Thank
being
you.
pleasure.
here.
Pleasure speaking to all of you. Thank you.
Okay, guys, this is not where it ends. We have a lot more events lined up for you, so don't forget to check out our event page. On that note, I would like to say goodbye to everyone who have joined us here today. All the best. Stay safe.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good day.
Thank you.
Bye.